So to be honest, I've had this aircraft model for quite a while, but I only had it with a sample model box, so I didn't really plan on reviewing it. But then 6 months, maybe a year ago, I managed to get another one for a reasonable price, and this time with the proper box. So I thought, hey, this would be a good opportunity to take a closer look at it. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where today we'll take a closer look at a Boeing 737-800 of American Airlines. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of the box we find the American Airlines branding. The backside of the box, then a lovely box design with an image or rendition of the real aircraft. We have the original dimensions and a little bit of backstory towards the livery. So actually a box design where Herpa has put a little bit of effort into it. Quite rare these days. And here she is, the Boeing 737-800 in the current standard livery of American Airlines, in use since 2013. And 2013 is also the production year of this aircraft model from Herpa Wings. Now, while we over the years have had quite a few 737-800 American Airlines models from Herpa Wings, this is to date the only one featuring the standard livery of the airline. We have, of course, in 2022 then had a standard livery 737 MAX 8, which I have also reviewed and you can check out here on the channel. But for now we will focus on this 737-800 to figure out what it can offer us today. And the best way to do so is by simply taking a closer look at it, starting off with the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer find the American Airlines color scheme or branding. Then on the fuselage we have the flag of the United States of America, the full registration code, and underneath that the internal registration code of the airline. Towards the very tail of the aircraft we then also find a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. If we move on to the front of the aircraft, we can see across the fuselage we have the American Airlines branding. We do also find a One World logo, of which the airline is a founding member, but that's then also really all the details we find here, apart from, of course, the most basic things like cabin doors and cabin windows. And it is unfortunately the same story for the cockpit section, where we have the cockpit windows. Not even the window wipers have been added to this aircraft model. And while Herpa is usually spot on with their 737 mold, I think in this case the nose is just a tiny bit too pointy. But let's move on to the engine nacelles. They have been kept in the same grey metallic look that we have on the fuselage. But we do have the silver leading edge printed on, and that's also the only printed detail we will find here. So also here rather bare-boned, but at least the physical detailing of these engines I think is pretty much alright. And when we look here from the front, we can also very nicely see the engine fan blades. On the fuselage, then just above the wings, we have the emergency exits printed on. That's quite lovely, and that then of course leads us straight to the wings, which we should also take a closer look at, starting off with the top side. Now this is one of my favorite parts of the aircraft model. Here we have loads of lovely detailing with the flap slats and spoilers carved out very nicely. We have the markings for the emergency exits printed on. Also the underside of the wings offers us some nice physical detailing, and of course we also have the lovely winglets, which I think Herpa has done quite nicely with in this case. The landing gear is also overall I think pretty nicely done. This is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their 737 models. I think the only major weakness I have here is simply that we have no printed details around the front landing gear, but that's of course very normal for Herpa Wings. And then last but not least, we also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft, and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 737-800 in the standard livery of American Airlines from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Now, as mentioned, I think the 737 mold of Herpa Wings is really good, except on this aircraft model where I think the nose is a bit too pointy, but this is definitely not a general issue with the 737 of Herpa. When it comes to the print quality itself, I think we can also not really fault Herpa. The print they have added is very good, but of course, there is very little of it. I mean, there are barely any details on this aircraft model. However, this was the standard of Herpa Wings back in the day, so the model is in line with what you used to get from Herpa Wings when this model was released. If there's one thing I would have wished Herpa to do differently with this aircraft model, it is really the grey paint they have used on this aircraft model, because it is very, very grainy. We have seen other models where they have used a more matte gray, which I think matches much nicer the American Airlines color. It's not so much that the color is off, it's just that this graininess makes it quite shiny under certain light conditions, and that is, in my opinion, not correct. And it's not really necessary because we know they have other paint options than what they have used in this case. Ultimately, if you want to have a 737-800 in the standard livery of American Airlines, this is to date the only option you have in Scale 500. But if you don't like the shininess or graininess or want to have more details, well, at least now we also have the option of the 737 MAX 8. And with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like, and if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe. With that, thank you so much for watching, hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.